Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how I make what I call my wonky bangle, for want of a better word. I made one like 2 weeks ago, and a lot of people have asked me to do a tutorial. So you're going to need some kind of bracelet form. I'm using this one, but you could just quite as easily use a large enough, let me just grab it, a large enough circle cutter. This one's probably too big, but the next size down. I'll show you. I've got a whole nest of them. These are listed in my Amazon storefront. So you would probably go with this one here. But any form that's going to fit your wrist. I'm going to use this one, although it's not going to be a cuff, but you'll see why. So I'm using that. This is also listed in my Amazon storefront. And for that, you'll quite simply need, for the bangle itself, you'll quite simply need some black clay, which I've got here, but that's for down the road. So I'm just going to put that to one side. Now, to decorate the bangle, I'm actually going to use cane slices. So I am going to make a cane. Don't panic. It's quite easy. Alright, and what you're going to need for that is some translucent clay. And I'm using Premo white translucent. And I've lost my pack, there it is. So I'm using some Premo white translucent. You know what it looks like. And I've got 3 equal blocks, 3 equal pieces from one block. This is a full block here, cut into 3 equal pieces. And I'm also going to be using this opaline by Cernit. I'm using the mint green, and I'm just taking a slice like this. Let's say it's roughly a half of one strip of a 2-ounce block. And I'm going to do the same for each of those opaline colours. This is violet, mint green, and then this one is magenta. So they're just going to go on top of the translucent like that, and I'm going to mix the colours into each of those blocks thoroughly. I'll do that off camera. You will also need a strip of white clay, and this again, this is Premo, and this is rolled onto a number 5 on my Atlas 150, 0 being the thickest setting. I've also got a little log of black clay. You don't need a great deal, and that's going to go with the white as part of the cane, so that's going to go over there. I like to get everything ready all the pieces that I need ready to go, so I'm not faffing around. You'll also need another little piece of translucent, not a great deal, probably equivalent to 1 strip off a 2-ounce block rolled into a log. And then you'll also need 3 strips of some more translucent, and these are rolled onto a number 6, and the same in black, 3 strips, and also white up here, and they're all rolled onto a number 6. But I am just going to move these back out of the way because I have got very little room right now. So that's all the clay you're going to need. There'll probably be some left over, but I like to roll extra just in case. Alright then, so first thing first, and I'm just shuffling around guys because I'm trying to make some room here. First thing first then, I'm going to take each one of these blocks and mix the colour into each block and pass it through my pasta machine. So I'm going to go and do that off camera, and I will return. So I'll mix the colours into each log, into each thing of clay, and I've rolled them into logs, equal size logs like this. So let's start with the first log then. You're going to take your first strip of white. This is easy peasy, and you're just going to pop your log on there, trim it to size, and roll it up. Whoops, that was a bit wonky. Wonky to match my wonky bracelet or bangle or whatever you want to call it. I know different people say different things, but where I'm from in England, it's really weird. Like if it's a delicate piece like a chain and that would be a bracelet. From where I come from anyway. I'm not saying the whole of England says this, but if it's something chunky, whether it's a cuff like this or a full circle one, we call them bangles. But you know what I mean when I say bangle. Okay, so wrap that up in the white. Give that a little roll. Make sure it's stuck together. Don't want to take it down too far at this point. So I'm just doing that for now, and we're going to take the next log and do exactly the same thing with the other piece of white clay that you rolled out. Get rid of the excess, give it a little roll, give it a little rock, that way it leaves a little line so you can see where to cut. So that's log number 2. A little roll, make sure it's nicely on there, and then same thing again with the mint green. Just going to wrap this up in this as well. Just going to level that off a little bit. It looks a little bit skew-ish, so I'm just going to straighten that up a little bit. So you see I've not used all of those strips of white clay, but like I said, I'd rather have too much than not enough. And that kind of stuck, so I'm just going to re-rock that, and that's that. So there is still a little bit of the white clay left, but obviously it's not going to go to waste because it's just white clay. Alright, so that's the first step. Give that a little roll. Make sure it's stuck together. I'm just going to get rid of that little speck of pink there, not that it will really make much difference, you wouldn't see it, but alright, so try and keep your logs as equal sized as you can. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, let me think, yeah, I'm going to take this log of translucent that I already rolled out and roll it a little bit thinner, like so. And you're going to need some kind of pokey tool. I'm probably just going to be using this paintbrush, actually maybe a thicker one than that. I really need to get, I think I said this before, actually I'm going to use this. I'm just going to use this from one of my ball tools. I really need to get some proper pokey tools, don't I? So I'm just taking this down a little bit thinner, and I need to accommodate all 3 logs, so hopefully I've got enough. Let's take the first one there, no particular order, and I'm going to put my pokey tool where that line joined up. It just makes it a little bit tidier, and I'm simply just going to push down like so to make a groove. Don't worry about it getting flattened, it can be reshaped, but that's all you need to do. I'm just going to take this down a little bit thinner. Try and get this snake as level as possible as well, and I'm just going to pop that in there. It doesn't have to be perfectly flush, but as flush as you can get it. For that one, same on this one. I'm going to find that join, push that through. Don't worry about it being smushed. Pop the translucent snake in there, remove the excess, and we've got our little hot dogs. I seem to make a lot of canes that start off looking like hot dogs, don't I? I've just realised that. Oh well, I guess my mind kind of goes the same way with canes. And then the last little piece of trans, take off the excess, and again we didn't use all of it. Alright, so we've got our 3 squashed colourful hot dogs. But I want to try and reshape this a little bit now, so it's just a case of, you know, manipulating it. I like to give it a little bit of a rock just to try and round it off a little bit. I'm going to bring this up, but I'm not going to make it into a sharp point. It's just trying to get this back into a more of a rounded shape rather than squashed. And I am just going to give it a little roll as well, gentle rock like this, just to try and smooth those bottoms off. And it doesn't have to be perfectly round, because guess what, it's going to get smushed again, but it's a starting point for where we're going to go. So I'm just going to take this up just a little bit more at the top. Like I say, it's not a really sharp point, it's just going to look like that, okay? Same with this one. Just bring it up a little bit. Give it a little gentle rock, a little gentle roll. And just tease it a little bit just to give it more of a shape again. Like so. Okay, same thing. Same with this one. Don't worry about the ends, they'll get trimmed away. So I'm just bringing this up, giving it a little rock, giving it a little roll. And I think I'm going to have to trim this one. I'm going to probably trim all of them actually, so I'm just going to take these out just a fraction. Make sure that's got that nice little curve to it at the top, and I'm just going to get rid of the rough bits. So you're going to be left with something like this. And the same with this one. Let's get rid of this little tiny end. That one's okay. And this one's, no, take that little bit off as well. Alright, so you've got hopefully still fairly 3 equally sized pieces that all look like this or close to. Next thing then, and I'm hoping I've wrapped enough clay, and I don't think I did, so what I'm going to have to do is just condense these back down so I can accommodate my black clay, and it's fine to do that. Because as you play with it, it kind of does stretch out a bit. So I'm just condensing this back down to fit my black strip. Let me just think about this because I don't want to cover the whole piece. So I'm actually going to put it on its side, guys, like this. And then just wrap it up to here. I almost wrapped the whole thing. Oops. So I'm just going to bring that over. Just going to stretch it a little bit to make it fit, and I'm just going to cut away the excess on that line there. Like so. Alright, so I'm only covering the top part, not the bottom part. So that's that one. Just make sure it's stuck on there good. And I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm going to push it back down smaller so it fits my clay. Try and keep it equal, level. Same thing, grab the other piece of black clay that you rolled out. Make sure it fits. This has lost its shape a little bit. I'm just going to point this up just a little bit. And that's the thing with canes, you can just manipulate them and make it do what you want it to do. Alright, so flip it on its side again, just level that bit off there. Wait a minute, what am I doing? What am I doing? I've lost my train of thought. I don't want it to go that way, do I? What the heck? Oh dear, derp dab derp. Bring it up this way. Brain fart, guys, brain fart. And then again, just remove that little bit extra there. And I'm not bothered if it's not exactly lined up on each piece. It's no biggie. It's just a general guide. And if you wanted to wrap it all the way around, you could. There's no rule to say that you can't, but I'm just going to have to lift this up because it didn't stick that great on this bit here. Alright, so that's log number 2. And then the last one, same thing, I'm just going to condense it and watch me get the wrap wrong again. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. Oops. Last piece of black then. Right, which way does it go? Right, that way. And I've got a hair there, just get rid of that. Trim that little excess off there. And that bit there. No, I've done it wrong. No, that's... Wait, what am I doing? No, that's wrong, isn't it? Oh my gosh. I can't work it out, guys. What the heck? What the heck? Oh yeah, that's right. The flat bit facing towards you. Durr. Did I do it wrong? No, I did it right on those ones. Oh my goodness. Right. Trim that excess bit off again, and now we've got three. Oh dear. 3 blocks, 3 logs of clay, all wrapped in white and trans with a little nugget of translucent in the middle. Last but not least, last but not least, we're going to wrap this in the trans flat bit in front of you like that, so you don't accidentally wrap that bit. That's a good tip, guys, so you remember which way to put it. I'm just going to squash this down a bit so it fits, and that's all you're doing. You're just wrapping again, and actually I think screw that. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to do the same as I've done on all the others. Again, if you want to wrap it all the way, you can. Get rid of that. There's that bit. Oh dear. That bit's come unstuck a little bit. And same thing. Just tidy this up. And take it to here, and it's just on that rip, which is ideal because that's exactly where I want to cut it. And last but not least, and of course you don't even have to use these colours, you don't even have to wrap white black trans. You could do black white trans or trans black white, whichever way you wanted to do it. That's just the way I went with it today. I decided to go with the opaline colours though, because you've got to remember opaline is actually semi-translucent. It's not as translucent as this, but it's a little bit see-through. And I just really like the softness of the colours, so when I'm mixing the opaline in with the translucent, it's going to give a nice soft pastel-y colour. I mean, you can use whatever colours you wanted, but if you're going to use a more opaque colour, I don't know, like red, Premo red or something, then it's not going to be as pastel-y, because obviously Premo red isn't semi-translucent. And I also love the feel of opaline clay. It's just got a lovely ceramic feel when it's been baked, and it's so nice to sand it. Sand and buffed opaline just looks amazing in my opinion. And I get all my clay from Blueberry Beads online. I will leave a link for them, as I always do, but I failed to mention them actually. I always forget to actually mention them. So here's the first mention of Blueberry Beads, where I get my clay from. Freshest clay you'll ever get. Excellent customer service and very good prices. They don't just have clay, they have alcohol inks, the Magenta Cernit varnishes, mica powders, all that kind of thing. So that's where I get my clay. Anyway, that's enough of that. Now what I'm going to do is now take these and now make them more into a little bit of a point. Not too much. I don't want a really sharp triangle for this. And the same on this one. Just give it a... I'm contemplating whether to wrap this again in black, guys. I'm just trying to think if that's what I did when I did my practice run, because as usual I've forgotten. And it's no good me recording it even on my practice run, because honest to God, unless I've got that recording right next to me while I'm recording again, I won't remember. I will literally forget in 5 minutes. So, you know, I'm just trying to think whether to... No, I won't. I'm just gonna join them up. We can always add some black later, and it's literally as simple as that, guys. Really, I'm just joining those 3 pieces together. It's very basic. Just make sure they're all stuck together. And then I'm literally going to cut them in half. And I hope I get, let me make sure they're matched on both sides before I do that. And maybe just lined up a little better, a little flatter. And then I'm going to cut this in half, but I'm just going to try and lean over and see, because I'm so bad at eyeballing and I usually cut way off, and I don't want to waste any clay if I can help it. I'm cutting them in half and then popping them together like that, and that is essentially the cane. It's as simple as that. What the heck? What happened to that one? How the heck did that happen? See what I mean, guys? It's way off. Oh my gosh. Oh dear. You know what? I'm just gonna wing it. I'm dying here. Actually, I'm going to separate these because I don't want all those colours together like that. Just try and cut better than that. I can't stop laughing, guys. I just turned it over. It's like, what the heck? Oh dear, oh dear. Oh my gosh, I'm making a right dog's dinner of this, aren't I? Right, ignore that. Just, you know, pretend you cut it equally. Let's pretend I cut that equally. You will cut it equally. Oh dear. I'm going to have to trim this one a little bit. That one's just a little too big. I don't want to waste any clay, she said. And she cuts it way off. Oh dear. Oh, I love it. What am I doing? Oh dear. Maybe I shouldn't have done this today. I'm all over the place. Oh, alright. Okay, so I've managed to save it, hopefully. Just ignore the wonkiness. Alright, so that's actually okay. It doesn't matter if some of the pieces are a little bit smaller. But yeah, don't do as I did. Right, so that's essentially the cane, apart from adding the middle, and that's where the black log and the white strip of clay comes into play. Just a simple centre for this flower. Oh dear, guys. You know what? I don't even care. I'm not going to edit that bit out. What's the point? Everybody makes mistakes, and 99% of the time you can fix it, so I'm not panicking. It's fine. It's probably not going to be as perfect as I would like, but hey ho. Alright, so I've wrapped this log in white, and I'm just going to roll it out and reduce it a little bit. Just making a simple black and white lace cane. There's nothing to it. Okay, let's just get rid of those ends. I don't care if it's not perfectly round. I'm going to cut it in half-ish, plonk it together, cut it in half again, and just piece it together, you know, roughly like that, and then reduce it back down. You know, I'll never be one of these cane makers. I sometimes I'm just blown away by some of the canes that I've seen. It's like, wow, I don't know how they do it. They're just amazing. I haven't got the patience for it. I like to look at them. I just haven't got the patience for the accuracy that you need, as you can see. Oh dear. But yeah, I'd love to be able to, and I'd love to want to. I just don't want to. It's just mind-blowing to me, the things they make. It's amazing. I'm happy with my simple little constructions, and hopefully they are simple enough for beginners to be able to at least attempt. Canes aren't easy. even simple ones like this. Oh, look at all my wonky petals, guys. Oh well, never mind. Alright, so I cut that and restacked again. It's just to make a very simple lace cane for the centre of this flower. So you're going to be left with something like this. There's nothing to it. Alright, so I'm just going to cut this to size and plonk it in the middle. It's probably too big. I'll just take it down a bit. I can't even get it in. Oh dear. Right, try again, Deb. I might just open it up, it might be easier. I've cut it too big. I'm scared to cut it too small now. I'm just going to squash it and hope for the best. Alright, so get your centre in there. Make it fit, like I'm doing. And just start to compress all this together. But that's basically the cane. It's actually really pretty, very basic but really pretty, and I just love the opaline colours. So this needs reducing, and as usual I'm just going to take it and pull it and push it and form that little waist in the centre to start with. That's how I always do this. So you're gently pushing in the middle, and I like to kind of hold the sides as well so it doesn't bulge out too much. So hopefully you can see there's kind of a little waist going on there, and then you're just going to gradually start to pull it out from the edges as well until you've got it to the size that you want it to be. I'm not going to do all that on camera because it's going to take too long, but just continue to do what I'm doing here. Alright guys, so I'm going to go and do the rest of this off camera, and I'm praying that it's going to look okay because of my wonky cutting. But there you go, I'll be back. Okay, so I've reduced it down and it actually came out pretty nice. So despite my little screw up there, managed to save it. Is it perfect? No. Do I care? No. It's pretty and very simple. But I am going to wrap it in black. Now this is optional. Actually no, it isn't optional. You do need to wrap it in a colour because there's one more step to go. But you don't have to wrap it in black if you don't want to. But because I'm going to be laying these pieces onto a black bangle base, it just helps it to blend a bit better. So there's no obvious lines. I'm just going to condense this a little bit so it actually fits on that black clay. So wrap it in black or whichever colour you want. Didn't cut that very well, did I? Don't know what's wrong with me today, guys. Oh dear. Right. Just flip that up and roll it in the black. Simple as that. And cut away the excess. And there we go. That's the cane in all its glory. Didn't wrap that very well either, did I? What the heck? Let me just try and fix that and stretch it over there a little bit. It's no biggie. Okay, so just going to roll that up in this. Give it a little roll, and I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to let that sit while we move on to the... But there you go. While we move on to the next step. So bring over that lump of black clay that I told you would need right at the very start, and this is just to make the bangle form itself now. And like I say, you don't have to use a cuff form like this. You could just use a large enough circle cutter that would fit over your wrist. I'm doing it on this because I like the shape it gives the bangle when I finished. That's the only reason. It does make it a little bit more tricky because you'll see. I'll show you rather than explain. So all you're going to do is get that black clay and condition it and roll it into a log, essentially. and it doesn't even have to be an even log, because this is my wonky bangle. So I'm just giving that a roll, and obviously it's got to be long enough to go round your bangle form, which mine isn't yet, so I'm just going to keep going. And you can make this as thin or as thick as you want to. I like it fairly chunky. I'm just going to get rid of that edge and that edge just to tidy them up a little bit. And now I need to see if this is going to fit, and it's got to fit all the way around, because I know this might seem weird, but I'm actually going to go past the gap of the cuff and join the piece of clay either end. And that is a little bit tricky, so if you don't want to do it that way, you don't have to. You could just literally put it around a circle cutter like I said. But this is how I'm doing it, because I just love the shape it gives. So I'm just going to make sure it's going to join. Maybe just a, whoops, maybe just a fraction longer. And if it's too long, no worries, I can always cut some off. So I'm just going to place this on here. Whoops. Try and stick it down as best I can. There are going to be some ridges, because obviously this clay is going to press into the edge of that cuff. So that's another reason that you might not want to do it this way, but it doesn't bother me because I like sanding, so I will just sand that down, smooth it down. And you can always hide any rough areas with the cane slices as well. So I'm just placing it on the form, and I'm just at intervals giving it a curve like this, making sure it's stuck on good. And they can be more drastic curves, or they can just be softer curves, whatever you fancy. So I could bring that right round there like that if I wanted to. But as I'm doing this, I'm making sure it's pressed down. It's not going to stay as domed as this. It's actually going to be flattened out a little bit, so it's okay to do this as you're going along. Okay. And then I'm just going to bring that here like that. Make sure it's on really good. I'm not worrying about any fingerprints or anything at this point, because it's going to get smoothed out more and cleaned. But that's all you do, guys. You just make a wiggly log on your bangle form like this, and then flatten it down a little bit. Now this is the tricky bit, and I've actually got a little bit too much, so I'm just going to take some off. And I'm just literally going to join these two pieces together, and I am actually overlapping them, because as you play with this it's going to get thinned out, so I don't want it too thin, so it is overlapped. And I'm just going to play with it until it's the shape I want it. So just keep pushing and pressing, pinching it at the sides a little bit, underneath. This bit is awkward, I will say that, but this bit is optional. That's just the way I wanted to do it. And it almost looks like a snake coiling around the bangle, but I'm just going to lay this down, and I'm just going to start pinching on those edges just to smooth it out a little bit. I'm not too worried about the back, because again I'll hide that with a cane slice. So that's all you do, guys. And just smooth this out a little bit. Just be gentle with it, you don't want it to break here. And I'm just going to curve this up a little bit more here and make sure it's stuck on good. There we go. So that's all you do. So just join those two pieces together, and I am actually flattening it out a little bit, and obviously I'm smoothing where it's joined with my fingers, and that's all I'm doing. This side's a little rough, so that needs sorting. Okay. I'm just gonna try and smooth this a bit better underneath. like so. Alright, so that's basically it. That's how I do it. That's how I make the shape. So when you've got it how you want it, you can put it in the oven. But what I'm going to do now is just give it a little bit more of a sculpted look. So it's on there good. It's as smooth as I'm going to get it on the joins and whatnot. Although I could probably play with that for a little bit longer, which I probably will. So make sure everything's nice and smooth, but then I'm just going to go around on the edges, like on these little edge bits here, and not necessarily all the way around. I'm actually going to smush it down just very gently, so it's actually curving downwards. I don't know if you can see that, and I'm just going to tidy that up there with the blade. And so I'm just kind of pulling it down very gently just to give it a swoop. Can you see that? Smush smooth elsewhere, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here, and I'm just gently giving it a little bit of a more sculpted look like that, if that makes sense. And you can do it on the whole piece if you want to, or just in random areas, whatever you feel like. Give it a smooth. Let's bring this bit down a little bit as well, just very gently. Give it a smooth. And I'm going to do it here as well. Give it a smooth. And that's it, guys. That's all I do. But it does make for an interesting looking bangle. It looks quite organic in terms of its shape. I mean, I wouldn't say it was an unorganic piece overall, because it's going to be very polished and smooth and all the rest of it, but the shape of it's quite, you know, organic. Alright guys, so that's all I do. So that's going to go in the oven for an hour, maybe a little bit longer because it's quite thick, but I always bake my pendants etc. for an hour. It's always better to bake for longer than it says on the packet of clay. I'm actually probably going to bake this for an hour and a half just to be sure, because it is quite thick. Alright, so I'm going to just keep on playing with that, but you get the idea. That's what I do. And then afterwards, once I've finished, I will get a wet wipe and some rubbing alcohol and just wipe it over and just get rid of any fingerprints and whatnot. Like there's going to be a few here. Alright guys, but that's the bangle. So I'm going to go and bake that, and once that's been baked, we'll move on to the next stage. Right, this has been baked. Before I put it in the oven, I smoothed it out a little bit more. Now it looks a little bit whitish. I have already gone over it quickly with a 220 sandpaper grip, wet and dry sandpaper, just to get some of the really rough bits off, like inside where the you know, creases were and whatnot. So it does look a bit odd right now, but it's going to get completely sanded and buffed through all the grits. If you're not sure how to do that, I do have a video where I show you how to do the sanding, etc. I'll leave a link for that in the description. So this is the bangle base, and there's the cane. I haven't reduced this anymore at this point in time. I'm just wondering how big I want my slices. I think I will take it down just a little bit more, but not too much. So I'm just going to roll that, and I don't like to take my canes down too far until I'm ready to use them, because they're going to need to be reconditioned, so to speak. Wake the clay up, soften it back up. So what I usually do is cut some away, and that's for later, and I can reduce that as and when I want it. So I'm just going to work with this. So I'm just going to take this down a little bit, not too much, and I'm going to cut this in half as well, so I can reduce this one smaller if I want to. And that's what it looks like. So I think I'm good with this at this point. But then I said there was a little final step to this cane, which is why I wrapped it in black, and that's just to get a needle tool or any kind of pokey tool and just do a little impression over the top of each of the petals, and it just adds a little extra something. So I'm just going to quickly do that, and you can keep doing that every time you need to use the cane, because obviously I'm not going all the way across at this point. I'm just trying to get them roughly in the centre of each petal, so it just gives it a little bit of a frilly edge. Alright, so there's that. You'll also need some liquid clay. I'm using translucent liquid clay, Kato. And I'm just going to take some very thin slices of this cane. And you can reshape them, like so. And you can just keep doing that until you've got as many slices as you want to put on your bangle. I'll just take a few for now and see how we get on. Alright, so there's that. And I'm just reshaping them a little bit. And I'm not doing my usual slices of a slice. I'm keeping them as a whole slice because I really like the look of these. I'm thinking I might want to make a couple of bigger ones because I want to be able to overlap some of them to hide the joins in the back. I smoothed them over and they were nicely joined together, but there's a few little creases in there, so it might be an idea to make a couple of bigger slices too. So I'm just gonna quickly go around and do this again on this one. Optional, don't have to do it. Like so. And just, that looks a bit wonky. Everything's wonky today. My cutting, my bangle. And what I'm going to do with this one is actually stretch it out a little bit with my roller. I always think that looks pretty nice as well. It makes it a little bit bigger. It's okay to have the larger pieces, and I think I'll do one more of those and see how I get on. Like so. Give it a quick roll. And there we go, that will do. So I've got these pieces. I can always add more if I want to. But let's see how we get on with this. And I'm just going to tip some liquid clay out onto my tile. And let's start with this bit where you can see some lines in the back. I'm trying to think which way. I think that was the one where, yeah, that's that bit there where I joined it. So I've got a crease there, so I'm just going to put some liquid clay all the way around on this section. And this is going to give it a little bit more strength as well where the joins are. I mean, they are blended together. You really do need to blend them together. You don't leave them too open. And rub some liquid clay on there. And let's get this piece and just pop it on there, fold it over. And we'll worry about, no, actually I will do it now. I was going to say we'll worry about burnishing them onto the bangle, but I'm going to do that now actually. And when I say burnish, I don't mean like how I usually get my clay piece or whatever, put some paper over it and give it a jolly good burnish, where it like completely makes the piece on the backing flush. I'm not bothered about it being totally flush, but I want it to be smooth, so I'm just gently rubbing it over with my finger. So A, it's on there good, and B, it's going to make it nice and smooth. So it doesn't matter that it's going to be slightly raised. I'm not smushing it so much that it's completely flush on this black clay. And I'm just going to do that all the way around. Make sure it's covered those bits that don't look that great. And that's all you do, guys. You just take pieces and you place them randomly wherever. So I'm just going to keep doing that, just making sure it's nice. You can drag it out a little bit. It looks nice if you kind of stretch it. And that's what I'm doing. And it's just going to be on the clay, smooth, but not necessarily flush. And then obviously once it's sanded as well, it will be even smoother. And that is literally all I do for these bangles. They're a little bit fiddly, but they're not that difficult to do, if that makes sense. It's not complicated. I'm just going to smooth this out good at the back, like so. And that's all you do. You just keep doing that with every piece that you put on the bangle. So that's the first piece on. And I will play with this a little bit more, but I'll put some more slices on and do the same thing with all of them. And then I'll probably play with it a little bit more off camera, just so I can get, you know, the finer details ironed out, so to speak, so it's all nice and smooth. Alright, so that's one piece. Let's take another smaller piece, and I'm not covering the whole bangle. I'm doing it in random areas. So again, another little bit of liquid clay where you want to put that piece. I'm just going to pop this here. Oops, not that one, I broke it. Try again. And just give it a gentle press down. And try and, if it's going towards the edge like this one is, try and make that as smooth as you can and a little bit blended onto the base so it doesn't feel bumpy. Like so. That's it. So I'm going to go and do the rest off camera, because I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. You can do just individual slices like that, or you can make the slices bigger so they overlap underneath to hide any of those marks that might be there. And that's all you do, guys. I'm going to go and do the rest off camera and I'll be back to show you. Alright, I've put all the pieces on there that I want to put on there, but I'm just going to give it a quick wipe with some isopropyl alcohol and a wipe. Obviously play with it for as long as you need to get all those pieces nice and smooth. And the rubbing alcohol actually helps with that anyway, as well as clean it off a little bit, get rid of any fingerprints. And then I'm going to go and put this back in the oven, and I'm going to put it back in for 30 minutes because these slices are only thin. So I'm just going all the way around with this and getting it as clean as I can, and it's quite tricky because, you know, you've got to try and avoid getting your fingers all over the other pieces. So it just takes some time just to get it nice and smooth and clean. Okay. Right, this bit here's got a bit that I don't want on there. And any of the liquid clay that's oozed out, that can be wiped off too. Alright guys, so that's what it looks like pre-bake. I'm going to bake it again for 30 minutes. I'll probably play around with it a little bit more and get some of these edges extra smooth. Like here I can see a few little lines. But that's all you do, guys. Alright? And don't forget, you can put some on the back as well to hide any of those marks that were left behind from the template. So I'm going to go and play with that a little bit more. I'm going to go and bake it and I'll be back. Alright guys, I finished the bangle. I sanded and buffed it. I buffed it through all the grits. Like I say, I have a video on how I do that. I'll leave a link. And here's the finished piece. Absolutely love it. So that's that one. I might as well show you a couple of others that I've made as well. And I did mean to make a pendant on camera, completely slipped my mind, but I did one anyway, and this is the pendant that I made. So obviously all I did was take some slices and just overlap them on this heart. I love that too. So there's that. And then here's another one that I did using the same cane but from my practice run, and you know, it's it's identical in as much as it's exactly the same cane on black. I just made the slices a little bit smaller. I think I prefer the bigger flowers personally, but again, that's all on you. So there's those from that cane, and then this is another one that I did using a different cane, and this is the cane from one of my tutorials that I did a few weeks ago, and I can't think what it's called. Oriental Masquerade, that one. But again, if you want to do this cane on the bangle, then I will leave a link for that video as well, so you can go and watch that if you so wish. The other thing, of course, you don't even have to use cane slices. You could do Makume Gane slices and get, you know, just as nice a look. Alright guys, so that's my wonky bangle and a token pendant, which I'm sure you can figure out how to do that. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.